The unspoken truth, when Soo Kai and Tan Songyun turned silence into a love story. It began innocently, a public appearance, bright lights, and two of China's most adored stars standing side by side. But then came a sentence that shattered the internet: "You are my son." Simple words.
Softly spoken.
Yet, in that instant, time froze. His tone wasn't playful, it trembled, filled with something that sounded like truth. Her eyes softened, 1,000 emotions flickering in a single heartbeat. Every news outlet replayed that clip, slowed it down, analyzed every frame. But no one could explain the electricity of that second. Because what unfolded wasn't performance, it was a moment of real humanity witnessed by millions. After that day, the digital world transformed into one giant detective agency. Fans examined every interview, every behind-the-scenes clip, every shared smile between Soo Kai and Tan Songyun. There was that moment when he gently adjusted her dress before a red carpet photo. Another when she burst into laughter at his quiet teasing. Even the way they looked at each other, subtle, knowing, became a puzzle piece in a growing theory. Something deeper was happening. Threads exploded on Weibo, TikTok, and YouTube. People weren't just watching actors, they were witnessing a connection unfolding in real time. In a world where every sentence becomes a headline, they chose silence.
No Konfirmation.
No denial.
Just understanding.
And perhaps that silence was louder than any statement could ever be. Because silence, in the right hands, becomes its own kind of poetry. Soo Kai, once confident and outspoken, started to appear quieter, more introspective. His interviews carried new weight. When asked if he believed in destiny, he smiled slightly and said, "Sometimes the sun and the sky don't plan to meet, but they still share the same light." Meanwhile, Tan Songyun's laughter became gentler, her gaze softer. It was as if they were both speaking to each other through the air. A dialogue without words, a love letter written in the pauses. Something changed after that viral moment. Soo Kai's tone in interviews turned thoughtful. The confident leading man suddenly carried quiet melancholy beneath his smile. He began speaking about presence, timing, and connections that can't be explained.
And Tan Songyun?
She seemed to glow differently. Her humor remained, but there was depth behind every smile. A sense that she was carrying something private, sacred even. During one live broadcast, a fan commented playfully, "Are you really Soo Kai's son?" She paused. The room stilled. Then, with that signature grace, she answered, "If I am, then I hope I'm shining in the right direction." It was all it took. Social media exploded once again. Months passed, yet that moment refused to fade. Fans began calling it the sun moment. They turned screenshots into artwork, montages into tributes, and their connection into a myth. Unlike the usual celebrity romances, loud, public, fleeting, this one was quiet.
No paparazzi-Fotos, no Grandgestures, no Publicity-Stunts.
Just two people who seemed to orbit each other, connected by something invisible yet undeniable. And maybe that's why it felt so real. Because what they shared wasn't performative. It was delicate, fragile, the kind of affection that survives not through confirmation, but through belief. In the entertainment industry, where everything is curated, Soo Kai and Tan Songyun's restraint became revolutionary. They didn't use their chemistry as a publicity tool. They didn't let rumors define them. Instead, they let mystery become part of their story. Each public appearance was a game of unspoken dialogue, glances exchanged across press conferences, smiles that hinted at a shared secret. And fans, deeply invested, hung onto every clue like emotional archaeologists. Their story reminded people that love doesn't always have to be declared to be real. Sometimes it simply exists, quietly shaping the way two people move through the world. Then, just when the storm began to calm, whispers of a new reunion surfaced.
A cryptic teaser, tu silhouettes beniat a golden sunset.
No names. No words. Yet fans immediately knew. Hashtags like hashtag Sun and Sky Reunited erupted across every platform. Was it destiny bringing them back together? Neither confirmed, but their online activity fanned the flames. Soo Kai liked a post about reunited souls, and Tan Songyun uploaded a serene image of an empty stage bathed in warm light. Coincidence? Or the most poetic digital conversation of the year? Fans didn't care. They just knew the story wasn't over. What is it about this pair that makes people across continents care so deeply? Maybe it's because Soo Kai and Tan Songyun embody something that modern fame often forgets: authentic emotion. Their connection reminds us of our own unspoken stories. The ones that never had endings, the people we never confessed to, the feelings that linger in silence. It's nostalgia mixed with yearning, romance without words. And in an age of filtered love stories, theirs feels beautifully raw. Because the world isn't just obsessed with them, it's projecting onto them its own hopes, heartbreaks, and unfinished emotions. Behind the cameras, they're just two people navigating the same emotions we all face: fear, longing, confusion, hope. But because they live under constant scrutiny, every move becomes magnified, every smile dissected. And yet, they remain graceful. Soo Kai continues to grow as an actor with soul-searching intensity, while Tan Songyun maintains her warmth and grounded presence. They seem to mirror each other. Light and reflection, sun and sky. Maybe that's what keeps this story alive. It's not about a relationship label, it's about the human desire to connect beyond words. In a rare live Q&A, Soo Kai once said, "Love isn't about possession, it's about presence. Sometimes it's enough to know someone is out there, under the same sky." That line became iconic, shared thousands of times. Fans created artwork, edits, and short films under the theme, "Under the Same Sky." It was more than a quote, it was a confession wrapped in philosophy. And Tan Songyun's quiet smile in her next interview felt like a silent answer. They didn't need to say it. The world already knew. Over time, their connection transcended gossip. It became art, inspiration, emotion. Younger actors referenced them in interviews. Directors praised their authenticity. Fans across Asia called them the definition of natural chemistry. People didn't just ship them, they believed in them. Because belief is stronger than proof. And that belief turned into something almost sacred: the idea that genuine emotion can still exist in a world that moves too fast to feel. Ultimately, the story of Soo Kai and Tan Songyun isn't just theirs. It belongs to everyone who has ever loved in silence, who has ever looked at someone and said nothing, who has ever hoped that the universe was listening. Their bond became a mirror for millions, showing that love doesn't always shout. Sometimes it simply stays. So when fans say, "You are my son," they're not just quoting him, they're whispering their own truth back into the world. As this chapter continues to unfold, one thing remains certain. Whether fate brings them together again or keeps them apart, what they created will live on in memory. It wasn't a performance. It was presence. And in that presence, people rediscovered the quiet power of human connection. Because long after the headlines fade and new dramas take the stage, there will always be that one moment. The look, the pause, the trembling voice, reminding us that truth doesn't need volume to be heard. And so, dear viewers, what do you believe? Was it destiny? Nostalgia? Or a love story written between breaths? Share your thoughts in the comments. We read every single one. And if this story moved you even a little, please like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into the hidden emotions behind China's most beloved stars. Thank you for spending your time with us at LVT-SHOWBIZ, where we uncover the stories that move hearts and remind us why we still believe in love, even the kind that remains unspoken.